Hey guys, so I know I haven't been on and posted a video here recently, but there's actually been a reason for that. There's a lot of stuff that has gone on that I've just been busy with, and I saw a comment just about a couple of minutes ago asking what's been going on. I haven't seen any new videos. Been a while since you've posted a video or anything like that, and so this is what's going on. Actually, let's go and take a trip outside so I could show you what's going on. So the Volvo V&L 860 that I had, I actually don't have that truck anymore. I am still with the same carrier, but there's been some changes and everything like that. So one of the biggest changes that has been going on here is I'm an owner-operator now. I went out, bought my truck, and decided to go owner-operator. Let's flip this thing around so you can see the truck here. So this Kenworth T680, picked it up out of Missoula, Montana, and it's been, hey, there's Annabelle. It's definitely been a new experience. Still doing the flat band sector. Got my 4-door headache rack, and there's a lot that goes into this that a lot of people don't really know about. So let's go and since we're doing this, let's go ahead and talk about some of the things that go on with being an owner operator. So first of all, with being an owner operator, one thing they don't tell you about is on average you're looking at about 20% down for a down payment. So I picked this up for $94,000. I had roughly about $25,000 as a down payment. With that, what they also don't inform you of is that you have to have finances set up for a maintenance fund. You also have to have finances set up for your personal, because once you buy the truck, it's not a one and done and we're gonna go ahead and, you know, here's the truck, here's everything you need, go out, go make money. So the process of that actually took me right about a month and a half from the time that I got my truck to getting it my IRP, which is my base plates or my license plates. And there's a lot that goes into that IRP that you don't see a whole lot of videos on that necessarily. So what's an IRP? IRP is International Revenue Prorate, and what that is it's so that you can get your base plates. It also makes sure that you cover your taxes for each state that you go into, and that also goes for both US and Canada. And it takes a little bit of information to get that up and running. Daniel McCarthy has been a big help for me with be able to find that stuff and how to do that. Also, Liz with Smoky Point Distributing, which is the carrier that I'm now leased onto, has been a big help and resource of information to be able to use that and help me out there. So one of the things that that you need for Washington State is you need three things of that show that you're a resident of Washington State. So like when you do like a water bill, that will sit there and count as one. A insurance bill, that will count as another one. Having a bill whether that's your mortgage, rent, if you could produce one for rent, but like mortgage, water bill, sewage bill, that would sit there and count. What doesn't count is if you write a letter to yourself and send it to yourself. That doesn't count. It actually has to be like a bill. One thing also is that I found out when doing this whole process, which luckily for me, I went into it with 6 figures, with down payment and everything like that. Do not go into buying a truck if you have anything less than 60 grand after you sit there and have your down payment, after you sit there and have your IRP and everything like that set up. Because when you buy the truck, you also have to pay taxes. Taxes vary between state and state on how much tax that is. And what they don't tell you is that to pay that tax, you have to go into the DMV for Washington. This is for Washington State. I'm not sure how it works for every other state, but Washington State, you have to go into the DMV and pay the sales tax, which is going to give you a sheet that looks like a registration, but that just says that you paid the taxes for that state. You have to go in there, pay the taxes. So where I picked it up at $94,000 for the truck, it ended up running me about 7 grand on top of that for my taxes. Then I go and do my IRP stuff, and I got my business license, which that ended up running me about $250 to get my business license through Washington State. You have to have your business license. You have to have your little sheet that looks like a registration to show that you paid the taxes on it. You have to have your 2290, which is your heavy use tax, which it's $550 for me, and that's for all 48 states. That's for Canada. It just says what you're going to gross out at. So if you're a 5-axle setup, tractor and trailer, you're looking at $550. And it's really easy to do. You can find some of these places online that will do it for you, but they also sit there and charge. I got looking at one, it was like $20 to file. And so, being my first time, I went ahead and did it through a online program. It cost me like $20 to file for my 2290. This next time when my tabs come due, I'm just gonna go ahead and do it myself. Send it in, fill out the paperwork, send in the check, and send it that way. Also, you need to have your proof of residency, and then you actually go into IRP to get your base plates. So, and when you go do that, make sure that you have that you contact them, because they'll tell you everything that you need to know everything you need to have before you go into it. Because some states only have one IRP office, some have 2. Washington happens to have 2. One is in Olympia and one is in Vancouver. And where I live, that doesn't do me any justice because it's all on the West Coast and I live on the east side of Washington. So it ended up being a 6.5 hour drive for me to go to my IRP, to do my IRP and everything like that. Also, to be able to do that, you also need if you're leasing on with a carrier, you're also going to need a copy of the contract. At least for Washington State, they require to have a copy of the contract of the carrier that you're leased onto. So I went in, got everything done. That ran me about another 2 grand. So all in all, between startup, between down payment, my IRP, my 2290, And just your startup, I was looking like right about, I want to say it was closer to between 28 and 30,000 to get up and running. Sorry, 32 to 35. Sorry about that. Between 32 and $35,000 to just get my base plates just to get up and running. Um, I had a couple of breakdowns in the beginning that ended up running me $10,000. Um, I had my air filter had to get replaced. I also had the return coolant airline. The return coolant exhaust manifold line had to get replaced. That ran me about $3,000, and then on my way to go pick up my first load, I had my DPF, because of 2016, it does have the DPF system. I got a D-rate on code that pulled up, and it ran. For that one, I had the option of either baking it or just replacing the filter altogether. And the time frame that it was going to take to bake the DPF filter or sit there and have them replace it would have been the same amount of time, because they end up overnighting the new DPF filter. So I ended up just replacing it. It cost me about $500 more to do the DPF filter and just have it replaced instead of having it baked. So that cost me about $7,000. So I'm just before I got my first load, I was out $10,000. But I've also made that up and then some. I'm actually doing really well. On average, I'm doing roughly about 10,000 a week, roughly, give take a little bit. And this is also before expenses. So this is before your insurance, your cargo insurance, your lading insurance. This also before your non-lading insurance, before the truck payment. So on average, I'm doing right about anywhere between 6 and 7.75 after taxes. After expenses a week. So, and it's usually more between the 6 to 7 is what I'm averaging after expenses, which isn't too terribly bad. So I've recouped the money that I spent. It's definitely something I'm glad that I did. It's also something that in a way, I wish I could have done sooner, but yet again, things happen for a reason, and things happen at a certain time. I'm just kind of glad it worked out how it did, because I did 7 years of research before I finally pulled the trigger. I talked to owner-operators. I sat there and talked to office personnel and, dispatching. And I've talked to CEOs. I've talked to, director of operations, which, used to be an owner-operator. So I've done my research over the 7 years before I decided to pull the trigger. I'm glad that I did, because that research gives you a lot of information. And so with that, if you're thinking about doing owner-operator, really do your research. I would recommend having some basic mechanical skills, or finding a way to get some basic mechanical skills. For example, I had my fuel level valve sensor sit there and go out on me. That's an easy fix. I, looked it up on YouTube. Okay, how do I sit there and replace my fuel sending unit? And so I looked it up on YouTube, realized where it was at, realized it's actually quite easy. And having a mechanical background, it makes it a lot easier for me to be able to work on my own truck, because, the part itself was $225, if I remember correctly, for just the part. And it was a 30-minute job. That 30-minute job, you take it to a shop, a TA, a Love's, you're looking at, a couple $100 more than that. You're looking at about $350 for the part, and, about $150, $200 for labor. So you're looking at something that could have sit there and only cost you $250 and, $225, $250 for the part in 30 minutes out of your day. You're looking at a couple hours down waiting to get into the shop, eventually getting into the shop, diagnosing it, everything like that. Then having them go get the part, which them going to go get the part is going to cost you even more. $250 job that you could have done yourself now is running you anywhere between $500 to $1,000. Depends on how long it takes to diagnose it, depending on how long it takes them to go get the part, because they're not going to be cheap about it. Also, it's just one of those things that, it saves you time and money. And in this business and in this industry, time is money. And really, just do your research. Know what you're getting into. If you're thinking about it and haven't done any research right now, the best thing I could tell you is figure this out. This is how I started with doing my research. I sat there and took a pen and paper. I wrote down what the price per gallon was. I wrote in there, how much fuel I added, how much it overall cost, and kept record of that, because we might not be paying, if we have a fuel card, we're not paying what that pump price says, but that's going to give you a good average of what you're going to need, what your revenue is going to need to be able to do your weekly expenses. Because, the first time you see $1,000 fuel bill, you're going to sit there and just be sticker shocked and jaw dropped and going, am I making the right call here? I did it my first fill up, when I dropped $1,000 into, my first load to get me down the road, and I'm sitting there going, I don't know if I made the right mistake, the right choice here and everything like that. But, between that and being in a shop, $1,000, going into a shop and being $1,000 is actually a cheap bill. It's a good day, because it was only $1,000. I sit there and had my batteries replaced last month, and that ended up running me about $700, and and that was for all of them. They were having issues with connection. I looked under there and realized, okay, I sit there and my batteries are dead. And when you look at a certain point, you can look at a battery and realize that, it needs to get replaced. We were at that point. So at that time, I didn't have my tool set on me, and so I had to sit there and go into Petro and Gary, Indiana, and have them sit there and go and fix it. That ended up running me $700. So, do your research, make sure you have that maintenance fund, because that maintenance fund's what's going to save you. Make sure at minimum have $30,000 in a maintenance fund just by itself for when you do have those breakdowns, when you do have those $700 bills, $1,000 bill, your DPF filter sat there and went out on you, and you have to replace that, and that's $7,000. During that time, you also want to have another $30,000 minimum to sit there and have a safety net for your personal safety net, because that first month and a half that you're getting all this stuff up and rolling, once you buy that truck, you could kiss free time goodbye, because especially at first, because you're just doing nothing but paperwork and research, how am I going to, what do I need here, what do I need there, and there's a lot of stuff that as you're in the process of, you could do all the research in the world, and there's stuff as a buying a new truck that you just don't know about until it actually hits. And there's processes that don't get explained by people, that it's hard to explain when it's not someone that's going through it and they're just doing their research. Because I could throw out numbers of how much it costs to start up a business, how much I make and everything like that, but until you're really in it, you don't really understand the complete complexity of the situation that you just got yourself in. And so it's definitely a learning curve for when you first start, but it's definitely been well worth it for me. I should have done this years ago, but everything happens for a reason, and we are where we are now, and we're doing good. I know I've been kind of rambling on, so I'll cut this real short here shortly. But if you guys really want to do this, or keep seeing how I'm doing, just let me know. Or if you want to ask questions about hey, what about this, what are some things I should look at, what are some of the things you're experiencing, or if you're an owner operator yourself and you have comments or tips and ideas, please feel free to go ahead and comment on there for me, and I'm more than glad for tips and suggestions. I'm also happy to answer any questions you may have yourself, so make sure and leave it down in the comment. Thank you for watching. Y'all be safe, and we'll see you next time.